Welcome to the Daily Globe. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. The U.S. Japan alliance, long regarded as a cornerstone of peace and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific, now finds itself at a crossroads. For decades, this partnership has not only ensured regional stability, but also fostered economic growth, technological innovation, and cultural exchange between two of the world's most influential nations. Their cooperation has shaped the global order, setting standards for diplomacy and mutual respect. Yet today, that very alliance faces its gravest test in a generation, as tensions reach a boiling point not seen since the post-war era. Behind closed doors, diplomats and leaders scramble to salvage what remains of trust, but uncertainty hangs heavy in the air. The legacy of decades of economic and strategic cooperation, built painstakingly through negotiation, compromise, and shared vision, has been upended almost overnight. The sense of partnership that once seemed unbreakable is now under unprecedented strain. In a stunning move, Japan has halted all trade with the United States, freezing billions of dollars in goods and disrupting industries on both sides of the Pacific. Ports that once bustled with activity now stand eerily silent, as ships wait offshore and containers pile up, untouched. This unprecedented decision is the culmination of months of escalating friction, marked by heated negotiations, public protests, and mounting frustration among business leaders and ordinary citizens alike. At the heart of the crisis lies the Trump administration's aggressive tariff policy, which has targeted Japanese exports and ignited a tit-for-tat trade war. The ripple effects have been felt across global markets, shaking investor confidence and threatening jobs. As President Trump arrives in Tokyo for a high-stakes visit, the usual pageantry and symbolic gestures of friendship seem hollow. Behind the smiles and handshakes, deep divisions remain unresolved, and the world senses the fragility of this once solid alliance. The reality is stark. A full-blown diplomatic crisis has erupted, with both sides digging in and little sign of compromise on the horizon. Negotiation tables sit empty, and the mood among officials is somber. Around the globe, people watch anxiously as two economic giants stand at an impasse. Newsrooms buzz with speculation, markets fluctuate wildly, and ordinary citizens in Tokyo and New York alike wonder what the future holds. The stakes could not be higher. Global supply chains, already stretched thin, now face severe disruption. Regional security arrangements once taken for granted are suddenly in question. The ripple effects threaten to reach every corner of the world economy. Experts and analysts debate the future of the U.S. Japan partnership. Is this the beginning of a long-term rift, or can cooler heads prevail before irreparable damage is done? Business leaders warn of lost opportunities, while policymakers weigh the risks of escalation. As alliances shift and world leaders react, the question remains: is this the beginning of the end for the U.S.-Japan partnership, or a turning point that will ultimately redefine the global order for generations to come? The seeds of this crisis were sown by the Trump administration's tariff-first approach. In July 2025, the U.S. imposed a sweeping 15% tariff on all Japanese goods, despite Japan's pledge of a $550 billion investment in the American economy. Tokyo saw this as a betrayal, an ally penalized despite major concessions. Frustration mounted as the U.S. refused to lift tariffs, echoing similar disputes with other allies. With legal challenges to the president's tariff powers looming in the Supreme Court, Japan's trade freeze is a calculated move to force Washington's hand. The standoff is now a high-stakes gamble, with both sides waiting to see who will blink first. Japan's announcement sent shockwaves through global markets, causing immediate and widespread panic. Investors scrambled to make sense of the sudden halt in trade, and the Tokyo Stock Exchange was thrown into chaos. The ripple effects were felt almost instantaneously across the globe, with financial news tickers showing sharp declines and traders reacting to the breaking news in Asian markets. All trade with the U.S. is suspended until tariffs are lifted. Cargo ships were abruptly stopped at sea, and shipping lanes between Japan and the U.S. were closed off. Customs officers were seen halting freight at ports, creating a logistical nightmare for businesses dependent on the smooth flow of goods. Ports in Yokohama and Kobe are paralyzed, containers stranded, and American agricultural shipments turned away. The sight of idle shipping containers and empty docks painted a grim picture of the economic standstill. Agricultural goods, which are highly perishable, were particularly affected, leading to significant losses for American farmers. Japan's $550 billion investment pledge and a major U.S. auto deal are now on indefinite hold, leverage in a tense negotiation. The suspension of these investments has far-reaching implications, affecting not just the auto industry, but also the broader economic relationship between the two nations. Boardrooms on both sides of the Pacific are now filled with negotiators trying to find a way out of this impasse. Prime Minister Takaichi faces mounting domestic pressure, while Japanese industries brace for impact. The Prime Minister's address to the Japanese parliament was a clear indication of the gravity of the situation. Factory workers and business executives alike are deeply concerned about the long-term effects of this trade freeze. Dr. Keiko Tanaka calls this a last resort move, betting that economic pain in the U.S. will force a policy reversal. In her press statement, Dr. Tanaka emphasized the calculated risk Japan is taking, hoping that the economic strain on the U.S. will lead to a change in policy. Analysts are now closely watching the unfolding events, speculating on the possible outcomes. Japanese customs and corporations are executing the freeze with precision, signaling Tokyo's resolve. The meticulous execution of the trade freeze by customs officers and corporations alike underscores Japan's determination to stand firm. Emergency meetings are being held in corporate headquarters across Tokyo as business people scramble to implement new trade protocols. The world is witnessing a meticulously orchestrated economic standoff, the outcome of which remains uncertain. As international news anchors report on the escalating U.S. Japan standoff, the global community watches with bated breath. The split screen of Japanese and American flags symbolizes the high-stakes and tense atmosphere surrounding this unprecedented economic confrontation. Washington reels from Japan's trade halt amid a paralyzing government shutdown, now in its 28th day. Federal workers go unpaid, air travel snarls, and food assistance for millions is at risk. The Trump administration scrambles for a response, with Treasury Secretary Bessin warning of dire consequences. Congress is in turmoil, especially in states reliant on Japanese investment or exports. Companies like Mattel face total supply chain collapse, intensifying pressure on the White House. President Trump's attention is divided by domestic controversies and military actions, raising doubts about his focus. As leadership falters, the U.S. faces a perfect storm of political and economic crisis. The U.S. Japan trade freeze threatens global supply chains, sending shockwaves through multinational corporations. American factories risk shutdowns without Japanese semiconductors. U.S. farmers face a glut as exports to Japan vanish. Financial markets tumble, with stocks in key sectors plummeting and commodity prices in turmoil. The ripple effects hit smaller nations hard, as U.S. tariffs already devastate industries from Lesotho to Latin America. Japan's bold move could inspire other countries to retaliate, risking a fragmented global trading system. The timing, amid U.S.-China trade talks, further destabilizes the world economy and weakens America's negotiating hand. The global economy is now hostage to a standoff between two former allies. For millions, the trade war is personal. Jobs, farms, and family budgets are on the line. The ripple effects of this economic conflict extend far beyond the boardrooms and political arenas where decisions are made. They reach into the very heart of communities, affecting the daily lives of ordinary people. From the factory floors, where workers worry about their next paycheck, to the kitchen tables where families struggle to make ends meet, the impact is profound and far-reaching. In the U.S., Japanese automakers support entire communities. A halt in parts means layoffs and shuttered plants. These factories are often the lifeblood of small towns, providing not just jobs but a sense of identity and purpose. When the assembly lines go quiet, it's not just the workers who suffer, but local businesses, schools, and services that depend on the economic activity generated by these plants. Midwest farmers lose a vital export market, risking bankruptcy and deepening rural despair. These farmers have invested their lives in the land, and the loss of a major market can be devastating. The sight of unsold crops and idle equipment is a stark reminder of the precariousness of their situation. Without the ability to sell their produce, many face the grim prospect of losing their farms, which have often been in their families for generations. In Japan, workers at export-driven firms face layoffs, especially in small and medium enterprises. These businesses are the backbone of the Japanese economy, and their struggles have a cascading effect. When these firms falter, it's not just the employees who are affected, but entire communities that rely on their success. The closure of a small workshop or a local business can lead to a loss of community spirit and economic vitality. Consumers in both countries will pay more for cars, electronics, and food as supply chains break down. The interconnectedness of global trade means that disruptions in one part of the world can lead to price hikes and shortages in another. For families already struggling with tight budgets, the increased cost of essential goods adds another layer of stress and uncertainty. The simple act of shopping becomes a source of anxiety as prices climb and choices diminish. The emotional toll is immense, with uncertainty and anxiety gripping families on both sides of the Pacific. The constant worry about job security, financial stability, and the future can take a heavy psychological toll. Families find themselves in a state of perpetual stress, trying to navigate an increasingly uncertain world. The strain on relationships and mental health is significant, as people grapple with fears that were once unimaginable. This is no longer just a diplomatic dispute, it's a crisis felt in every household. The impact of the trade war transcends borders and politics, touching the lives of individuals in profound ways. As lights go out in homes across the U.S. and Japan, the shared experience of hardship and resilience becomes a powerful reminder of our interconnected world. This crisis underscores the need for solutions that consider the human cost, not just the economic or political gains. Experts worldwide are dissecting the crisis, cutting through political spin. Professor Tsuyoshi Kawase calls the recent U.S. Japan summit all show, no substance, masking deep divisions. Dr. Keiko Tanaka sees Japan's trade halt as a desperate, high-stakes gamble to force U.S. policy change. Henrietta Levin of CSIS warns that the dispute strengthens China's hand in ongoing trade talks. Analysts agree, Japan's move is no bluff, but a calculated act of economic statecraft. The failure of symbolic diplomacy has forced a confrontation that may reshape global alliances. The path to resolution will demand a fundamental shift in approach from both nations. The U.S.-Japan rift shakes the entire Indo-Pacific, threatening the security alliance that has anchored the region for decades. China stands to gain, exploiting the vacuum as Washington and Tokyo feud. Regional powers like South Korea and Australia now question the reliability of U.S. commitments. The dispute accelerates Asia's shift toward multipolarity, undermining decades of American leadership. America's willingness to punish allies sends a chilling message worldwide: no partnership is safe. In this new era, words and actions diverge, leaving allies and adversaries alike scrambling to adapt. The U.S. and Japan stand at a crossroads: reconciliation or rupture. De-escalation would require lifting tariffs and resuming trade, reaffirming the alliance's strength. Continued confrontation risks permanent damage, broken supply chains, lost investments, and eroded trust. The alliance's value goes beyond trade. It's built on shared values and security interests. Sacrificing this partnership over tariffs would be a historic mistake, benefiting only rivals. This crisis is a wake-up call. Alliances need constant care, honest dialogue, and mutual respect. The anchor of the Pacific has been shaken. Now is the time for steady hands and wise leadership.